Hi, this is James from Mad River Homestead here in Southwest Ohio, and just doing a recap of 2024, starting with the aerial view so you kind of get a feel for what things looked like in the beginning of the year. The first year we were here, 2022, we did raise a couple of hogs, and I wasn't really happy with the shelter that I built for them. It was just some pallets that I put together in an A-frame. So this year I decided to go ahead and build a stronger shelter. Pigs can be very destructive in nature, so I wanted it to be something that would really stand up to them. And I feel like it turned out pretty good. We're planning to get a couple of more pigs this next year, so we'll find out. Now, the next big project I did was to add a wood burning stove in my garage. It gets really cold out there, and I wanted it to, just bring up the temperature some. And I did hear in the comments that I made my stack too short, so I did increase the height of that. The cats seem to love it. It just really makes a big difference in there in those really cold times in the winter. We were expecting goats to come around the end of February, early March, so I needed to build a milking stand. I actually was really happy with this build. It turned out really good. It is great for Margie when she's doing the milking, and Lily seems to have no problem at all with it, as long as there is some feed in the little tray. We have a lot of maple trees in our backwoods, so this year we decided to try tapping those to make some syrup. As you can see, they are plenty full of liquid. So we got the spiles, we got some buckets and hoses. Tap those spiles into the tree. I rigged up the buckets so I could have the spile go directly in there. We have some where the hose feeds down into the bucket, but as you can see, we got a lot. Then we started boiling, and we tried a couple different methods. I do have a video on that, but ultimately we decided just doing it in a big pot was the best way for us. Hey, leave me a comment if you've ever made maple syrup and let me know some of the things that worked for you. Pretty early in the year, I did add an ATV to my collection, and it has really come in handy. Well, the end of February came, and it was time for the kids. And I'm going to tell you right now, that was one of the most exciting things that I have ever seen firsthand. To see those things being born and then walking around within an hour after they were born, and then a day after that, bouncing around, jumping up and down. This was when they were a few days old. But it's just such an awesome thing to see. And Lily was an absolutely great mother. Now, right around the time the kids were being born, we decided we better consider livestock guardian dogs. Well, it just so happened some friends of ours had Maremma sheepdogs that had just had puppies. So, a week or two after the kids were born, we went over and picked out Alaska. You'll see more of Alaska later in this video, as well as her sister Poppy. And also check out the Maremma sheepdog playlist. This year we got our Cornish cross meat chickens in late March so we could process them mid to late May. Leave a comment down below if you have ever raised these and what works for you and what doesn't. And also we have a playlist for those as well. In the spring this year we decided to add Boer meat goats to our homestead. This is G, the buck, and this is Uno, she is the doe. And we keep the females and the males separated for most of the year, but we do put them together when it's time for breeding. As you can see, they do frolic around a little bit, and it's a lot of fun to watch them. We had such a great experience with Ezra and Lily, our dairy goats, and the kidding that we did earlier this year with them. So this time hopefully we'll have kids from our dairy goats as well as our meat goats. I decided I wanted to make our backwoods accessible to the goats for foraging. So to do this I had to tear some fence down, had to repair some fence, had to put up new fence, but once it was done, the goats absolutely loved it, and they did a great job of clearing it out. Now, if you don't know, our current rooster is Big Chungus, and he is a salmon Faverell. Well, this year we decided we want to start raising salmon Faverells exclusively. They're a great dual purpose bird. which means they can lay eggs as well as provide a great source for meat. So I had to set to work building a new chicken coop. The idea is the old chicken coop will eventually be more of a brooding coop, and then I wanted to build one for the current mixed flock that we have, as well as any adults in the future. Another thing I did this year was add a concrete floor to our hay barn. I've never done concrete work before, but I feel like it actually turned out pretty good, and it's really helping to keep the hay dry. The hay feeder that I had previously in the buck's pen was basically a small one that I made that I attached to the wall. So I decided to make them a freestanding one like I have in my other pen. Turned out really well. This is in the goat playlist if you're interested in seeing how I put that together. Now this is a project that I did not take on myself because I would have messed it up. But this year we decided to have our back deck covered, and now we have a porch instead of just a deck. Turned out really great. Our neighbor across the street, this is what he does for a living. So he and a friend of his came over and took a little time because he was doing it between jobs, but it turned out really great. That's an aerial view of it, and there's it is just night and day. It's such a game changer between what it was before and what it is now. When I've been out working, I do have a fan on the porch, and I can come and sit under that fan. It cools me off, and it's just a great place to sit and just look out over the homestead. Well, around the end of April, when she was about 8 weeks old, Alaska came to the homestead, and she immediately just assimilated. She was so good. From the very first night she was here, she slept in the goat pen with the does and just seemed to take to them right away. We had a really great year in the garden. We grew a lot of purple hull peas. We had a lot of okra this year. The tomatoes did awesome. The peppers did absolutely amazing. And we had Swiss chard till we just couldn't eat anymore. Margie worked tirelessly putting different vegetables up. We froze some, she canned a lot, and it was just a really, really great year in the garden. And I've heard that from some other people as well. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how your garden did this year. Do you like to use shredded leaves for your garden? As you can see, we have a lot of trees on our property, so we have lots of leaves. And this year I got this agrifab mowing back, and it absolutely saved me so much time and effort. I was able to fill our garden with 6 to 8 inches of shredded leaves, and that's just going to really prepare that soil for next year. Well, as Alaska got bigger, she became kind of a nuisance to the goats. Not in an aggressive way, but she just wanted to play with them constantly. The kids were gone. We had found buyers for them, and she would drape her big body across her back. She would chew on Uno's ears. So we decided to bring her sister Poppy to the homestead. And that has been a really great move. Poppy keeps Alaska entertained and vice versa. They're playing all the time with each other. They are puppies. They will grow out of that eventually. But it keeps both of them from picking on the goats and playing with the goats. And you can see here they do get along really well. They've had their little moments where they fought, and that's always over food. Maremma sheepdogs are very food aggressive. I mentioned the salmon faverolles earlier, and those are the cream colored ones that you see right here. These are about 7 months old. They just started laying, which is absolutely perfect because our mixed flock are not laying anything right now. Well, as fall set in, started to get a little bit colder, the dogs are really loving the shelter that I made for them. It has plenty of room for both of them. Has French doors, so I can open those to clean it out. They can go in there and get nice and cozy. with all that being said, they are usually sleeping outside. Poppy likes to go in there more than Alaska, but Alaska, it has to be really, really bad weather for her to go in there. Even when it got so cold that I had to go out and break the ice off of the top of the water troughs, the dogs would still sleep outside. Of course, then Alaska thinks it's her job to scatter the ice around. Well, we had a break in the weather in November, a couple of nights where the temperature was above 40. So I put a concrete pad in the back of the shed for the does so that when they have the kids in late February, they'll have a nice dry area that I can put some straw on for them. Well, it's winter now. It has been for a few days, and I'm just finishing editing this video. And I hope wherever you are that you're comfortable, that you're able to stay warm, and don't worry about our animals. Like I always tell Margie, they're built for this. Every one of these animals are built to withstand some really, really cold temperatures. Of course, that being said, I try to make it as comfortable as I can for them. So even when the snows are on the ground, they're going to be tucked away nice and warm wherever they are. Whether they're sleeping out in it or they're in one of their sheds, they are going to be comfortable. They know where to go, they know what to do to make sure that they are not getting too cold. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It really means a lot when you support my channel just by watching the videos. If you make a comment, I absolutely love the comments and I will respond. So, with that being said, thanks again, and I hope you have a very, very happy new year. God bless you and your family.